Today's episode is brought to you by Positively Productive Systems, whose mission is to be the antidote to your stress and to provide compassionate productivity resources and coaching that help you heal and achieve. Be sure to check out both free and paid resources at positivelyproductive.com/resources. When there's something that you are trying to accomplish, if you can tap in very deeply to the memory of what you did and what really worked and how you felt and everything about that, just that relief that you felt, how much more calm you were, all of that in detail, you can tap into that again when you're experiencing that overwhelm. And each time you can get to it a little faster. You're listening to the Positively Living podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Zawrotny, founder of Positively Productive Systems and a coach certified in time and stress management, helping clients make space for what matters most in their lives. Join me each episode and we'll talk about decluttering, stress management, habits, personalized productivity, gratitude, and so much more. I understand the overwhelm of life because I'm a wife, mom to kids and cats, and a former caregiver. I'm here to help you choose what's right for you so you can do less, live more, and breathe easier. Sound good? Let's get to it. Welcome back to the Positively Living podcast. I'm your host, Lisa, and today I'm bringing strategy back. A special show format, that is, the recorded strategy call. Today, I'm coaching Reena Friedman Watts, a textbook multi-passionate creative, having done so much in her professional life while balancing mom life too. From radio to reality TV like The Jerry Springer Show, she's planned huge events for the telecom and finance industries, secured sponsors and emceed, booked high-ticket guests like Howard Schultz and Barbara Corcoran for other podcasts, and Reena is a podcaster and podcast producer as well. She's a questioner and a story junkie and a natural connector, which she showcases on her podcast, Better Call Daddy. At the time of our recording, she's dealing with one of life's biggest stressors, a move. She paused packing to grab a coaching session with me to discuss this big move and its impact on her and her family. We discussed what's involved, what she's tried, the best ways to process stress, and how to trust her choices. One thing I noticed that's happened with other clients is that merely planning our session together helped her find calm. I happily celebrated so much that she's done right, and we discussed how to keep releasing what doesn't serve, like worry, and welcome what does, like new opportunities. We also talked about using the energy of this move and this deadline and transferring it intentionally to her new space. To support the principles discussed in this coaching episode, you'll want to check out episodes 33 on embracing change and 79 on how your body responds to stress. You may also want to check out episode 51's strategy call with a fellow obliger. After you listen to Reena's story, be sure to message me and let me know if this resonated with you. You can find my contact details and free resources by going to positivelyproductive.com/links. Welcome, Reena Friedman Watts, to the Positively Living podcast. I'm so excited to coach you today and to help alleviate some of the stress that you're experiencing and bring clarity to your next steps.
I am so excited to be here and bring some positivity into my life.
Yes. So before we get into it, maybe you could share a bit about who you are and what you're doing, and then specifically what's really challenging you right now.
Yeah, so I'm a podcaster, podcast producer. I am a mompreneur of 4 kids, 13 and under, and I am getting ready to move from Chicago to Texas after a decade. So I got a lot going on.
You are my multi-passionate in every way. Plus, you have one of the biggest, most stressful activities that you can possibly have, a move. Even when you want it and it's going to be an amazing thing, it's still high stress. So that's a lot.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And I really feel like we were really chill up until like the day before the movers are coming. And it's funny because I listened to on one of your other podcasts, like, what are you grateful for? I am grateful that movers are assisting this because I need that more than anything.
I think that's such a good life lesson too, is how much we need help in these moments. So I'm especially glad that we could have this conversation now. We could do this coaching session now before the move and just help you get in the right headspace because that's a big part of it. This is life, right? This is going to be happening. And you've made a lot of great strides already. Back when we first connected, you were talking about life balance. And of course, you have a lot going on as a mom and an entrepreneur, but you were making a real concerted effort to find that balance now. And now with the move, things are out of whack again, right?
Totally. Yeah, it's so funny. Like last year, I was very fortunate and I got to produce an in person podcast. And that is like everything that I love doing. But it was long days. I was batch recording with my client where I would book 6 or 7 interviews and on a Sunday, shoot them all back to back. And then we'd release one a week. And I was away from my family on a Sunday. And it was a great client. And then it helped me land another client on top of that, that I was remote producing, which actually ended up being better. And now that's what I want to do more of. But one led to another. And then I was like, whoa, I was like, that pillar of I made the money that I wanted to make part time happened. But then my fitness got totally out of whack. So this year I was like, okay, like if I can just keep one of those, do some one offs, and then work on my fitness. And I did that for months. And I dropped I probably like a size and maybe 10 pounds. And then the fitness got knocked out of whack again. And yeah, it's so much give and take.
That's a natural thing, anyhow. It's especially a natural thing when you are in hashtag mom life.
Yes.
But also, let's add to this, you were kind enough, really, to offer up some of your assessments for me. And Obliger was the one that came out. And I don't know if you're familiar with Gretchen Rubin's 4 tendencies, but this is a really clear indicator that's important as you maneuver through all of these changes. Also, we did the big five, sometimes called the ocean because it's OCEAN. And there's a number of things on there, but the one I want to point out the most is 83% on the extrovert side.
Oh, yeah.
That, and I can totally see that. You are a natural connector. I mean, on the extrovert side, we're talking about it's not just that you're social, but that you get the energy from it, right? The human connection. And I mean, it's what you do with your podcast, Better Call Daddy. It's what you do, I think, in everything that you choose, right? But the obliger side of it, I'm trying to figure out the way to say it because I want to be so careful that we don't take these tendencies, these assessments, and say, okay, this is it. And it speaks to everything that I am as a person. It doesn't. But what I love about it as a productivity coach is that it speaks to your expectations and how you show up or what gets you to show up. And the obliger, which is roughly 70% of the population or so, shows up for outer expectations. So there's 4 of them, right? And the upholder is kind of equal, inner and outer. You've probably seen people who are like, hey, I've got a lot going on. Life is crazy. And now I'm going to the gym. And you're like, how did you do that? You just got up and you went and wow. And then on the opposite side of that, there are the rebels who neither the inner nor outer expectations really work. So it's you can't make me, I can't make me. And they need like a bigger reason, a bigger why, kind of a movement that's like, okay, well, then I will make it happen because this is important to me. And then on each side, there's the questioner, and that's inner only. Like, give me the data. It's got to make sense to me. Once I've got it locked in, I'm going to have lots of questions for you. When I have it locked in, okay, good to go. I happen to be that, by the way.
Interesting.
On the opposite side, there is outer. And when I say outer only, you can tip in one direction or another to either the upholder or the rebel. But in particular, you are going to show up with outer expectations in mind. And it doesn't always mean that everything you do is only for others. Sometimes people get that confused because all the tendencies can be very selfless and very giving. And I have no doubt that you are that. But where you struggle is when there's something that you need for you, the inner expectation kind of gets denied. So, what you need the most, and we're going to look for today, is how you can create a construct for what you need that is outer accountability.
Let's go. I will tell you though, today in my 20 trash bags of gathering things, I did take an hour and run, and I have not run in weeks. Like, I needed that. I was
That's
like, I'm
amazing.
ditching the coffee. I was like, the coffee is making me overly anxious. I am going to get on the treadmill and not even run at like the pace that I want to. Like, instead of the 5.2, I did a steady 40 minutes at 4.2 just to like have a nice calming, not listen to podcasts, not watch TV, just like calming, steady run. And it really like improved everything for today.
That is amazing. And I want to congratulate you. I'm celebrating that hard. Let's do a happy dance.
Yeah.
So I do want to point out so many things about that. It's so good because you knew you needed it.
Yep.
You listened to yourself. You listened to that voice that said, Reena, you
Yep.
got to take a break. You got to do this. And then what you did was you actually burned off the physical stress that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And Krista Bevan was on the podcast talking about this very thing. And I'll link to that in the show notes. It's an incredible episode about how we physically hold on to the stress. It's basically like with the run, you burned it off, right?
And I did it right before two realtors came over, literally like 10 minutes before, because I was like, okay, I'm meeting these two people. They're both bidding for our attention. I want to be clear headed and calm and not like 100 miles an hour on coffee.
I love it. And that's another important point in there, clear-headed and calm. So what was it in that moment? What were you feeling that you were like, okay, I'm doing this. I know I have a ton to do because that is a tendency we have, right? Where we have a ton to do. So it doesn't feel productive to stop and take that break. What were you thinking in that moment?
Overwhelm. I was like, I got to alleviate the overwhelm. I was like, I'm going to make my kids pancakes. I'm going to make them feel good right now. Like, oh, sorry. Okay. Emergency alert on the phone. And then somebody's coming to pick up our double stroller. I'm like yelling at my kid. I'm like, 1 second.
Oh my gosh. I feel like having an emergency alert on your phone is just so indicative of like what's going on right now. It's like, well, that just, I mean, it just fits, right? And so
Yeah.
the emergency alert, but in a way, okay, your body was having an emergency alert and you tapped into that. So was it an overwhelm to the point where you're like, I just can't do it anymore?
It wasn't there. I just know because, like I was saying, at the end of last year, I kind of like took stock. I was like, wow, I had a good financial year, but I let my health go. And I was just like, I want more of the balance in the health realm. I'm like, if you've learned anything from the pandemic, like really, that's the most important thing. And my son got in super good shape over the pandemic. And I was just like, in order for me to be the best me, the best mom, able to really not be wasting time on my phone and waste, like I have such limited hours. I was like, this puts me in the right state. I've seen it.
I love it. Okay, so that's the thing. You want to keep coming back to that, right? Keep and not just remember that you know that this helps, but remember very specifically how you felt, what it did, how much better you showed up as a mom, right? How
Yes.
much calmer you were when you're dealing with realtors and you're dealing with a lot of things happening at once. Something else you mentioned is that you were able to focus better. So it's all of those things. And if there's a way that you could creatively capture that, what's really awesome is you're going to have that in this podcast. You can listen back to this episode and be like, yes, I remember that moment. I remember how I felt. This is a tip for everyone, really, is that when there's something that you are trying to accomplish, if you can tap in very deeply to the memory of what you did and what really worked and how you felt and everything about that, just that relief that you felt, how much more calm you were, all of that in detail. You can tap into that again when you're experiencing that overwhelm. And each time you can get to it a little faster. So what were some of the signs? What were some of the things that were happening?
Oh my gosh. I mean, getting texted by my kids' friends' parents, can I pick up your kid tomorrow and have a play date? my husband saying we need to get rid of all of these things, him telling me there's another pile you need to go through, my little one saying, can you make me pancakes? It was like 20 things coming at me at once. I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I was like, I'm going to make you guys something to eat. And I'm going to go for a little run.
So, so good. And how did everyone else feel after you got back from the run and you stepped back into moving mode?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you just calmly say that, everybody was cool with it. I mean, the baby was like, "Oh, you're done yet? Are you done yet?" But he was sitting next to me watching me, and mommy was happy, and he was getting to watch his favorite show. And the world did not come out of orbit while mommy ran for 40 minutes. That's what I noticed.
Exactly. And the other important thing, and this is especially good for obligers, but I think all moms in general, all parents in general can appreciate this and take from it, is that when you do this, when you are feeling whatever it is that you're feeling in the moment, whatever that stress is, however it's coming about, it's the overwhelm, if it's you feel yourself getting cranky or losing patience, ask me how I know to suggest that as an option, right? Any of that, okay? You are modeling for them how to handle it.
Can I tell you something totally embarrassing? Yesterday, like it was starting to hit me,
Mhm.
and I literally Googled, why is everyone annoying me? Like, why is everyone pissing me off? I Googled that. And then it led me to steps of what I could do to manage that. And one of the things said, when you're feeling anxious, do not drink caffeine, go for a run.
Mhm.
When you're feeling anxious, do not get on your phone. So even last night, it was starting to like already take effect because I'm like, the movers are coming Tuesday, right?
Yep. Yep.
So last night I put on some meditation. First, I started with like fall asleep in 5 minutes meditation, and it was too calm. Like I needed some like rustling sounds and some like sound bath and some like crinkle sounds and some distraction. But I listened to that with my baby. It calmed the baby, it calmed me.
Mhm.
And I did not get back on my phone until the morning.
And so smart. So understanding how these things affect you. And I think in general, this is a very universal thing to be like, okay, so the phone, we use these as coping mechanisms because we're wanting to distract from that uncomfortable feeling. And what you need instead is to calm your mind and your body from that uncomfortable feeling. So it's an unfortunate thing that we tend to do. It's like, okay, coffee so I can push through, or let me play on the phone and have it be mindless, and then the time is gone. So good for you for saying, okay, something has to give here and I can't have it be me. So these are some great lessons to take with you when you are not up against a move. So there's nothing like a move to teach you some real lessons on what your limits are and also what you can do without, right? The decluttering.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you some really cool things I found today. So, as a mom before, and my husband's been working out of state for 7 weeks, there is quite a heap of laundry. It has been piling up for months. I went through that table today, literally an hour before the podcast, an entire hour to get like not even halfway through it. That is like the amount I'm talking about. I found like a long sleeve t-shirt from high school with like high school. Okay, I'm 43 years old. And it had all the names of the kids in my graduating class. I'm like, even though that's a memento, I can find that online. Trash, right? And then I found like a J-Date long sleeve shirt. And even though that's where I met my husband, okay, that was, we've been married for 15 years. I'm never going to wear that. Trash, right? But I was like going through all of these fun memories. I mean, that was really cool. And there were a couple, obviously, like I went through this shoot where my husband used to work, and then I was awarded these cute t-shirts, but they're actually cute. So it's like, okay, I'll keep that one, right? Like,
Mhm.
but there's so many memories, and like going through my clothes and like parting with some of those memories. I even did that at the beginning of my work career. I had like one side of the closet for good shows I've produced, one side of the closet for like never wear these on a show day.
Absolutely. So again, when you are up against a move like this and there are massive deadlines, many people are affected, and suddenly you are placed with the responsibility of taking items that you own and physically getting them from point A to point B. and all the things you own, mind you, not just some items, but all the items, or you start making that choice, it changes your perspective really. But yeah, I would say the scope of your choices, if you will, suddenly you start seeing, oh, there are choices. I can absolutely let this go because it's not something that I want to carry with me. So, with that in mind, what is it that you are looking to carry with you, and what would you like to leave behind?
Oh my God, that is such a hard question and a good one. I mean, obviously, I'm taking my experience with me, right? That's something that people pay you for. And I'm also taking like a lot of possibility with me. A lot of people are like, oh, I know this person in Houston. Oh, once you get settled, I have somebody to introduce you to. I want to entertain those things.
Mhm.
I'm making space for new opportunity. I literally got messaged today by a recruiter for a fully remote position with somebody that I know out of nowhere. And I'm like, actually, that job I could do, and I've held that title before. Maybe I'll try working for somebody again. Like I've been doing the entrepreneur thing for a while, and all my kids are going to be back into school this year. It's actually something I could entertain again. Like part of the reason I wanted to be an entrepreneur was because that worked best for being a mom. So, what am I taking with me is also space. I am making space. I am decluttering my life. I am open to new possibility and opportunity. What I want to leave behind is the clutter. I want to try to really leave behind like some of what isn't working.
Exactly. And so, a couple of things that we talked about very briefly when we discussed doing this coaching session was one was you saying, making space for new opportunities. So, I love that. I use the phrase making space for what matters. That's why we
Yes.
declutter. And the other side of it was also how you are changing and growing. And with these new opportunities, there are going to be some things that you've had for a while, much like a long sleeve t-shirt from high school, right? That are maybe a little harder to step away from. Collaborations that you've done, different kinds of things. So, with that in mind, this is the energy that you absolutely need because, especially as an obliger, with that outer expectation, if you have people locked in who are, collaborating with you in any way, there's going to be a natural expectation that you have to keep working with them. But now is absolutely your opportunity. This physical move is a spiritual move too.
Yes, so spiritual. I've been really feeling that actually. Like I did a shoot over the weekend and I'm thinking, wow, like who were the people that were my last interview? Who were the people that had me over for lunch? Who were the people that made other plans? Who were the people that could have been my last interview? Right? I actually want to write that down, like maybe not physically in a journal, but like email myself that because actually it all felt like from above, the people that were involved in the last week. It really like made me think about God. It was so crazy. This one woman who I ended up interviewing, I interviewed her for a client. Then I interviewed her on my own show. It hasn't aired yet. And then she said, I would love to interview you. And like she came, she brought coffee for me, the camera guy. She got to meet my dad. Very few guests have gotten to meet my dad. I was like, dude, this woman is like, yeah, from another realm. And it was interesting because she has 4 people that work for her out of Houston. And she was like, I'm actually looking to expand my team there. I want to be open to having a conversation about that because how many times we've gotten together and that she was a part of my final chapter,
Mhm.
right? Like she is on a high level of everything I've experienced up to this point, and I'm finishing up with you, baby. I will remember that.
This is a very powerful combination. And again, this is an example. So I love the idea. Email it to yourself. Doesn't matter how you do it. Journaling. I mean, there is something to be said for writing, right? That
The pen to
connection that we
paper.
have, the pen to paper. There's a neurosensory like experience that we have. So if you're game for that, great. But however you do it, capture not only these moments, but like I said, the experience, the feeling. And one of my favorite ways to declutter is actually less about the what doesn't belong, but focusing on what you see that very much does and allowing that to crowd out. I use that technique when it comes to new habits. So let's go there with you as well. You said wellness, right, is a huge part of what you want. You have like an open canvas or like a blank canvas, I think is the way I want to say that, an open calendar, a blank canvas as you make this move. What's going to be in there? There's a like a saying out there, there are videos out there of professors saying this, of the whole idea that you have this jar, right? And you put the big rocks in, and the small rocks, then the sand, then the water. So really thinking about what those big pillars of your life, the big rocks are, and you're not just making space for it, you're claiming space.
Yeah, what that made me think of is I found a little note for my daughter and it said, I'll love you no matter what. This is a big move for my four kids. They were really happy at their last school. And, we visited four schools in 4 days and they did not have the same excitement around the new school. But you know what? Even though with the last school that they were at, they kind of knew sooner on than I feel like they know with these schools, because it's a lot at once. I know that my big rocks have got to be getting them settled.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes first. I know that. And I've even been transitioning that because I've taken less work and I've told some of my clients, I'm not taking anybody in until July,
Excellent. And so that's another really important point and something to take with you in a technique that has to happen. If you have family members that you need to absolutely be there for, and this is most certainly the case, and then that you are coming in essentially second. I mean, I'm sure it's very, very close. And one of the things I want to point out, and let me see if I get this phrase right, as much as you need to be there for them, helping them settle in, doing as much as you can to support them, not doing it for them, right, but to support them. You want to make sure that you don't put their wants above your needs.
Yeah.
But absolutely, you can initially be of service to them. And the way to do that without losing you in the process is by looking at other things on your calendar, which you've already done. Excellent. That you say, okay, that's got to scale back so that I have enough. What are my limits? What's my energy? And then keep balancing that. So one of the things you mentioned to me was the running. That needs to be in there, right? And the kids get it too. And they know that you're there for them. You can absolutely be present for them, support them in getting settled, handle things on their behalf, show them that you've got their back while still taking care of you.
Yeah, today I gave my daughter a hug. It was the most amazing thing. And then she was, going to have a play date with one of her friends before she left, but it's just too much. It's I'm sorry, you've had them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I know you really want to get a pedicure. I was like, we're going to go to that nice place when we go to Texas. We're going to go to that place together, me and you. We're going to splurge and get the scrub on our legs and the lotion and all that.
There you go. And those are limits. You can't always give them everything that they want, but you can absolutely give them what they need. So that's the balance there. So when it comes to this, I think you're very clear on what those big rocks need to be, right? And the fact that your children and you, and it's kind of that, I understand that you're saying they come first. And as a mom, I get that as well. But I would just encourage you to be a very close second and making sure, again, that the wants and the needs are properly assessed, right?
Yeah. I'm even thinking about my team. It was I didn't get as many episodes banked before this move is happening. So I usually release Monday, Wednesday. And I was like, well, I'm going to release Wednesday because I know if I could do a Wednesday, Friday, I know I'll be able to do a reaction before Friday. So I gave myself 2 more days. I was like, I can just re-advertise ones I've already done. And I can show part of my move instead. And I'm giving myself grace there too,
Exactly. And grace and innovation. And that's something that's huge for you. You are all about big ideas. This is, what it comes down to, the word, I think that our theme word for this conversation is opportunities, right?
Yes.
And this is seeing it as an opportunity to be creative and to do something unique. There was a fellow podcaster that I was talking to who had a situation with co-hosts where, something deeply tragic happened with one of the co-hosts and they wanted to keep it private. I said, you can do an end of season wrap up and it can be just you. No one will ever know. Your listeners will be thrilled and you'll be good to go.
Yeah. I mean, even for this shoot this past weekend, like I thought I was going to have a couple other guests and they, weren't available or didn't show. And I was like, well, my dad's in town. And like, I've never actually interviewed my dad. Like he usually does all of the reactions. I was like, I can just talk to him about moving to Texas, or I can talk to him about his career and what he remembers that his parents told him. And me and my dad just ad-libbed it, but we know each other so well that I actually thought that was a nice segment, and it could be YouTube shorts, or it can be promo clips, or it can be repurposed in so many ways. And he got to meet one of my guests. So I had them do a little segment, and that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about mixing it up.
Exactly. And that's actually something that you may find that you want to do. Maybe, each season you may want to bring him back in and do something else and see what he thinks about the different episodes, or if he picks a sort of like a mailbag, like a fan favorite or something like that.
I actually did an Instagram live while the videographer was recording the main segment. And a couple people from the live, I was like, anybody have a question for Daddy? And they asked him. And so when there was a break in the interview, I did that.
See, once again, opportunities where that can actually be even better than what you were going to do because you had to change it up. Okay. So with that in mind, what we've gone over is making sure that your needs are in check along with your family's, that you use what you've experienced in this move of seeing what you can do without, what you really want, what you really need, what you're moving with, using this as filters as you move forward. Because once you've made the move, you're no longer going to have the move itself as this big catalyst, if you will.
Yeah.
So you want to take the energy from it.
My husband even said, he was like, the more you get rid of, the less you have to unpack. And I was like, I want to get rid of more.
Yes, exactly. My favorite saying when people say, how do you get organized? I'm like, have less.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely true. Okay. So with all of that, is there anything in this move, in the change, in the stress, in where you want to go that still feels a little unsure that we can?
That's interesting that you asked that. So here's a decision I still have to make like very soon.
Okay.
Is that I have two realtors that came to interview with us today. And even though my husband's company, they're part of the reload packages, they like get a report of how they've done in the market. Like one has 5 years of experience, one has 40 plus years of experience. Here's the thing. The one with 5 years of experience, she's top in her office. The one with 40 plus years, she's top in the neighborhood. But the one with 5 years, she is hungry and she has less clients. And I felt like I liked her marketing. I think she's new. I think, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I felt her excitement. The other one was so chill because like she's been doing it for so long. It's like I could sell this house in 2 or 3 days. I like that. But at the same time, I felt the other one just like she had that newness, that excitement, kind of like, what I'm entering. Mm-hmm. So that's something I could use a little. I like, how do you pick a realtor?
I think you just did.
Yeah, on a gut level, like I'm like, I want to give that chick a chance.
Yeah. This is a really interesting point because it's the whole, what if I choose wrong?
Yeah.
I do have clients who say this a lot, and it's like, what is wrong?
Yeah.
What ultimately happens, because the thing of it is that if you have done your research and you have a trust and a communication and you know that the resources are there, it's a solid company, the best you can do when it comes down to something that is so trust-based is go with your gut, because it's more than just your gut. It's all of the details that have surrounded you and that you've pulled in and that you know. So ultimately, when it comes down to it, it's probably fairly equal in terms of what can they do in this market. It comes down to, is this person going to be responsive, as aggressive as they want them to be? things like that. But yeah.
It was such a learning experience. You know what else was interesting too? The first one who, you think I'm choosing, she asked for it. She was like, "What can I do to get your business?" I was like, "Ooh, I like that." And the other one totally didn't. She was like, "Well, I'll start to
Mhm.
fill out the paperwork. Let me know." Like, so confident though. Like, there's something to that as well. It was just so interesting. It was definitely a different approach.
And, the bottom line is wherever you land, that you're like, I love this choice. I feel good about it, and I'm going to be able to move and focus on what I need to focus on. That's your choice.
It's the same thing with picking team members. There
Absolutely.
is an element of trust and taking a risk and making it work with what you've chosen.
Exactly. There's a connection, right? Because you are going to be working as a team. This is another team member of yours. This is, you are making a move. You are doing a lot for others. You need good people to do for you as well. It's a connection and a trust.
Yep.
Okay, there you go. And I know that it's very easy to make a decision and then rethink, or maybe question yourself. But, it's just like when you're making this move and you're doing all the things and you have all the stress and you're like, but that's not helping me. It's the idea of worry. Worry is putting energy into something where you have absolutely no impact on the outcome.
It's so true. And people even getting together with me this past weekend for lunch were like, "You seem way too calm." I was like, "Oh yeah, because it totally hasn't hit me yet." I was like, "Oh, I know it's gonna like come over me," but like they were just surprised that like days before the moving truck is coming, like I was having lunch at someone's house and just like having no stress. But it like really didn't hit me until the day before. I'm like, "Oh, we're gonna be up all night."
And you know what? That may be the case. Then what you have is you have a deadline, right? You have sprints, you have things that you need to do. But ultimately, if you had started stressing about it earlier, all it would do is deplete your energy. So it's the same thing with making this choice. In your gut, you're feeling who you want to give this opportunity to. Trust yourself and know that any other worry regarding that going to deplete your energy. And actually, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy with everything that you do. When your energy is depleted, then your connections and your impact, are decreased as well. So trust yourself and take sure steps.
Remain calm. It's seriously,
Stay
but like
calm.
I
Don't
got to
panic.
find the calm. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and finding the calm with things that are proven. So, that's a great place to land here. Running is one of them. What else helps you calm? You mentioned meditation. Love that.
So, what else helps me remain calm? And I had to definitely find this for the 7 weeks that my husband was out of town. And this is definitely something that I've had to work on because I am not a naturally calm person. I'm very type A and high strung,
Hmm.
is letting more go. Letting more go makes me calm.
There you go. So, and that is the constant decluttering. So that's what we'll leave you with.
Let
Take
it
care of
go.
you, let it go. Exactly. Yeah, running, meditation, letting go. Keep decluttering just like you want to, and then
And having faith,
yes,
seriously
that
having faith.
trust, right? That goes back to trust.
Like I may not be like pulling out the Bible and reading the verses, but I will say that like through this whole experience, I'm just like, okay, there's so many things that have happened during this move that have felt like I was just part of a puppet show. Just keep taking steps in the right direction and doing the right things and keep in motion. And there's a bigger plan here.
Right. And with each of these, understand that what you need to focus on is the next right step.
Yeah.
So that's letting things go and not looking necessarily too far ahead. So, yeah, give yourself grace, like you said, take care of yourself, let stuff go.
You know what else we did today that felt amazing? It was like after we had been working almost an entire day until about 3 or 4 p.m. We had been up since like 8 or 9. We'd been hitting it hard. I was like, hey, there's a new restaurant in town that just opened up 14 minutes away. I think we all deserve a lunch. And we splurged. We spent $190 and got fancy food. And it was like a recharge.
Hmm.
And now we can go hit it until it's time for bed. And we did the best we could. And we took some pictures of some fancy food and we ordered that fancy latte and got the kids each their own personal fancy pizza and got dessert and the whole bit.
And it was a recharge. And I love that because when it comes to showing up for what you need to do, right? You need to be energized. And also, and this is for habits in general, you need the reward. So good for you.
Yes.
Good for you. Reena, how do you feel?
Good. Really good. And I've got a mountain to go through still, but I feel good and I'm ready to do it.
Good. So you've been recharged. I love that. And I'm pouring into you. Can you feel it? You got this.
Yes.
You got this. The real key here with all of it is trust yourself.
And you, my lady, are sent from above too, because this is my last day in my house and I'm spending it with you the night before we're out. So, yes, I am so glad that we reconnected.
Oh, as am I. And I'm really honored. I'm honored to support you in this move. And so let everyone know where we can find you, your podcast, and online.
BetterCallDaddy.com, megawattsproductions.com. I'm Reena Friedman Watts on LinkedIn, Instagram, Reena on Twitter. Would love to connect with you.
Okay, I'll make sure to have those in the show notes. And I want to thank you, Reena, for sharing so fully your life today so we can all learn and celebrate with you. And we look forward to an update.
Thank you so much for bringing positivity into my world right now. I needed it.
Thank you for joining me today. Your time is precious and limited, and I'm honored you chose to spend it with me. If you have feedback, questions, or want to schedule a chat, head to positivelyproductive.com/connect. And if you are looking for any of the resources referenced on the podcast, from books to products to training and more, go to positivelyproductive.com/resources.